What is up with it? Today we are back and going to be doing something a little bit different. I did one of these before, maybe a little over a month ago, where I posted a coaching session that I did in the dojo here for all of you for free on YouTube. I am once again doing that. If you enjoy this, please use the discount code that should be somewhere maybe above me when I edit it. I'm going to leave it right there. If you enjoy this, you get so much more than this in the dojo. You get probably about 4 to 5 sessions like this per week by me, Sam, Josh, Yost, along with a lot of other content. We make guides for every deck. We do ladder sessions where you can watch us play all the time. I've posted like 5 of those this week alone. But really what is inspiring me to post this is I think I got a comment on Twitter. There was some drama about like Enrico's guide or whatever. And someone was like, I think it's crazy that no one talked about, senior pink and then all the pros played it. And that's just not true. In this session, this is going to be a big deep dive on Enel theory. This was recorded before Red Bull, so also before the Lil regional. I talk about the deck list that I talk about is not exactly the deck list I ended up playing, but it was very similar, and I talk about all the things and all the different theories. I talk about no dog and how I thought that could be a viable thing, which I personally did not end up submitting no dog, but Mirko ended up getting second place in Lil with no dog. Also do some VOD review of some Enel gameplay, but just a full Enel masterclass, and I hope you guys enjoy. Oh,
What's up?
how you living, Logan?
I'm doing good.
Doing good? Nice, nice. I think today we are going to start with some Enel mulligans. I did not say that in the announcements, but I thought about it and decided that that's how we were going to start today. And then, of course, we will do plenty of VOD review. I think I might try to be a little bit more choosy about which ones today, and try and pick out specifically Enel gameplay. I haven't actually looked through to see like what people submitted, but I'm guessing it's probably mostly Enel stuff anyways. But gonna try and mostly focus on Enel stuff today just because a lot of people have been asking about it, and like even today, someone asked for us to do some Enel gameplay. And honestly, like I have just been playing in paper with Sam mostly, so I haven't really been able to record because Sam is here at my place in Seattle as we've been preparing for Red Bull. But we will do some VOD review, or we will start with some Enel mulligan stuff. I will also talk about kind of like what sort of deck list I like right now. This is probably not the exact 50 that I will submit this weekend, but it is not very far away from it. I do actually think there should probably be like 1 or 2 blocker Enels in here. Probably like 1 2K Sanji.
Sorry, Elijah, are you
Mhm.
are you supposed to be sharing your screen?
Oh, I am. My
Because
fault. Good comms.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I draw on the screen, can y'all see? Okay, cool. This is not like the exact 50 that I will be submitting this deck list this weekend. This is just like the list that Sam and I were most recently trying today, and felt pretty decently good. I think the 1-drops are super important. I'm not a huge fan of Porsche. I know people really like the dog, and maybe the dog should be in the deck list. But truly, maybe it's just because like a lot of my plays with Sam and like we are trying all the different matchups, but like even the bit that I have played on ladder, like everyone in the world has decided that they do not want to lose to the dog. So like you put that shit on the table and the yellow Luffy just like Bello Betty's it, or they Zeus it, or your mirror opponent like rests it, or whatever. I feel like that shit literally never sticks, and even when it does stick, it gets like one swing. So truthfully, I'm not the hugest fan of the dog. Like I recognize that it is really broken, and to be honest, I have not listened to or talked to Josh about like exactly everything he talked about last night. And I know Josh and I also have a few differing opinions on this deck. So some of the things I say might conflict to his ideology. I really am not 100% sure everything he said last night, but I know he is a big fan of the dog. He thinks the dog is Giga broken. I agree with that. I just also think that like that shit never actually gets to win you the game, for the most part, in my experience. So this is not exactly what I will play probably, but I do like heavier one drop packages. It might not be this full 16. It might be like something more like this. I think Shura is like pretty important for the mirror, but like outside of that is kind of whatever. And it's definitely a card that you typically do not need multiples of, so I think 3 is very reasonable. I like the pudding in this style of list personally because I think like big spell combos are like very, very good. Like I'm sure all of you who have played the deck or even against it, like, when you play your Cavendish as an example, and then your opponent goes Kitten, Margara, Lightning, Dragon, you're like, wow, that is really fucked up. Like, that is a really fucked up thing for a human being to do. So, me personally, I like the pudding because of that. The other really cool thing about the pudding is that it allows you to play a searcher without Dawn minusing, which when you play the Reiju, it means that you can sometimes cheat out the Reiju a turn earlier. I also don't know what Josh said about Satori versus Gadatsu. Me personally, I think Gadatsu is literal dog shit. Please do not play it. In my opinion, I think that card is awful. It is a literal vanilla that does nothing. And I think that Satori is the GOAT. To me, this deck is a combo deck. I think a lot of what you do involves you chaining multiple cards together in one turn. Like you go like 6-drop, Kitten, Margara, Lightning Dragon, or some bullshit like that, right? And I think Satori like helps you do that like a lot. Like low key, I feel like Satori, like I said this and was met with great anger by Ted when I said it. But to me, these two cards, they are by far my favorite cards in the deck, and they are to me 4-cost Kuzan. They replace themselves, they are going to swing at you, and they are going to get recurring value every single turn, and you kind of have to deal with them. It's a little different than 4-cost Kuzan in the sense that like 4-cost Kuzan, like you really had to deal with that shit or you auto lost the game. And also he was a little bit more difficult to deal with than, like a 1-2. But I think they are things that like have to be addressed, and like the games where I get to like play these, like, let's say it's versus like Sky Island or Nami or whatever, and they like do not address these cards. I think the value that you get from them over the course of the game is like insane, and it ends up being like really bad for the opponent. Like I think my win rate goes up a lot when I get to like stick these, and like the Nami thinks like, oh, this thing doesn't really get to swing at me, I'll ignore it. And I'm like, cool, I will get the best card in my deck every turn. Works for me. That said, I think the Nami matchup is not good. I think that is something else that Josh and I disagree about. Again, I don't know what he said the matchup was. I actually think it's bad. I think it's like a 40 to 45. But, whatever. All decks have some bad matchups, so no problem. But I will do some mulligans. Unless anyone has any quick questions about the deck list before we continue. Again, I know we kind of talked about this sort of stuff yesterday with Josh, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. But if anyone has any questions for me in particular, we can talk about it before hopping into the mulligans.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, what's up?
Given that one of our the dog helps us with like our early game aggression, you take multiple lives. Without it, doesn't it let the leaders like Black Croc or Mihawk establish their big bosses, and then they can just chain freeze you, and it doesn't it make a little tougher on us? Like the 8 cost Croc
Mm-hmm.
or the long Beppo, they can just chain and then it makes it tougher on us, or no?
So Croc, I have not actually played verse very much, to be honest with you. I actually don't think I've really played verse him at all. So truthfully, I just have no experience with that matchup. I imagine that is a matchup that the dog helps with, because I do think
their
you are.
chain stun is just so annoying.
Yeah. I do imagine that
fair
the
enough.
chain stun is like pretty annoying. Low key, maybe the same with Mihawk. I could see that also being true.
Yeah, their long Beppo just
Mm-hmm.
they just every turn they just play it again. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this list is probably worse into those things. Maybe not quite as bad into Mihawk, because like this list has so much removal. You can often remove a lot of their things, like if they try to play the 7 shanks or whatever.
Right.
The Croc, I imagine for sure this list could struggle into. But to be honest with you, I am not currently building my deck with those decks in mind. I think they're going to make up a very, very small percentage of the room. And I'm just not worried about it. I'm really worried about, things like beating the mirror. Because I don't know if anyone here has checked
Okay,
Sim
fair enough,
Stats,
yeah.
but Sim Stats say that currently in the last week, 40% of all games played are Enel on ranked, which is like really, 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 really egregious and really insane. Like, I don't know how often you guys pay attention to like this sort of thing, but like Enel is like literally 40% right now. In OP13, Emu and Ace were only ever like 20% each, somewhere around here. Doflamingo was like never above like 22% in 09. Like, this number is like really, really, really egregious, like really, really out there. And I think it's because like not only is the deck super strong, but it's really fun, it's really different. It feels very skill expressive. So me personally, I'm trying to build to beat the mirror more or less. And I think a lot of the decisions I've done here is like pretty good for the mirror.
Eliza, could you please comment on running both Divine Departure and Gamma Knife and Gam Gam Lightning, like 6 of the removal suite?
Mm-hmm. I think removal is just really good. I think it is very good in the mirror. I think the way that you win the mirror is by generally controlling the board. And like the opponent sticking 6 costs can be pretty problematic. I also think that all of the like Luna decks, like the counter decks like GP, I have put a lot of time into GP. I know Sam just did a class on GP. I actually think that like, honestly, like 9 days ago, I was going to play GP in Red Bull. I thought the deck was very good. I thought it was great. I was crushing on ladder. And then what happened was everyone decided that GP was a real deck because it started to do better and better in the East. Like when I was first trying it, it had literally one flagship that it did well in the East. And no one was built for it, right? No one played the Reiju, no one played the removal cards. GP has gotten more popular since then. Like in the East, I think it's like the 3rd most winning deck recently, something like that. And all of the Enels have started playing like these types of cards. And honestly, when you play these types of cards, like that matchup is like truly impossible. So I think these types of cards are very good in the mirror. I think they are very good into GP, which again, I am specifically building for Double Dawn, because that is my event this weekend. And I would expect a GP to have some real popularity there because he is really good at using that Double Dawn. Same thing with red green Luffy, and like these types of removal cards are very good into those decks. And there was one more thing that I liked them for. I also think versus Sky Island Luffy, people really like the dog for that matchup. I think that is true, that if you can stick the dog, it is incredible. I don't know about you guys, but every fucking time I play versus Sky Island Luffy, they just mulligan for Zeus or Bello Betty. My dog never sticks. And I have found that a more reasonable way for me to win the matchup is like, honestly, like Gamma Knife, like controlling their board. Like you Gamma Knife something, you like L-Thor it like forces them to take a life, and then you swing 2 at it, or they don't take the life, right? And then the thing is dead. And if they do take the life, then you like swing at it with like weenies, like maybe they think it's fine because you don't have a weenie on board, and then you like play Shura, and then it kills the thing anyways. I have found even like the removal cards like honestly very reasonable, even to Sky Luffy, which like you would think that they would not be good. But I found that they're actually a little bit better
I
than
agree.
I
I
expect.
agree about Gamma Knife and
Mhm.
Gum Gum Lightning. Why do we need Divine Departure in addition to those?
Truly, you do not need this card. These might just become 2 Sanjis. I've kind of gone back and forth. Part of the reason why I like this is because like I feel like one of the easiest ways that I lose the game is I like die and I get like bricked up on like Senior Pinks or the removal or whatever, and like just being able to pitch them. But to be honest, these could like very easily be Sanjis. I just also like that like Senior Pink can pick up the divines. So I can like counter with it and then grab it back, and then like that gives me a real outlet to grab like a real counter card. Not just like a 1 or a 2k, but like a full 3k basically. But for sure, like either one is fine.
Great, thank you. This is very insightful. I'm excited.
Yeah. Before we hop into mulligans, did anyone else have any quick questions?
Yeah, I had one quick one.
Yeah.
You are talking a lot about the mirrors, and I'm curious as to why you don't want to run any of the blocker now.
I actually think the blocker Enel definitely can be played. I would not play a ton of them. I would only ever play 1 to 2 of them. I think for sure you can make room for that. Like, I think for sure you can do something like this. And I think ultimately this is what I might end up doing. I go back and forth on it. Josh hates this card. So sometimes, I kind of go back and forth on it because I actually don't hate it. I actually think it's a pretty good card. I think it helps a lot versus Nami. I don't really love it versus the green decks because it's just a Luna victim. In the mirror, it's like hit or miss. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's doesn't really do anything. So I go back and forth on this card. I think ultimately I will play it probably. I think like my list probably will look something a little bit more akin to this rather than like the full 16 searchers, like play a couple of Nels. But yeah, I think it's very valid to play it.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that.
Okay, we can move forward. I'll just save it as this. Fuck it. And we will do some mulligans. I would say generally what I'm mulling for, particularly going first, I'm mulling for 1-drops +6. Particularly Satori is like my favorite, is the Satori to find. Ohm is also really good when you have other 1-drops. I think he like, if he is your only 1-drop, at least in my type of list, I think he sucks. Obviously, if you're playing the Holy, then like Ohm plus Holy is like what you're looking for. But in like my type of list, like if this is the only one drop you're putting on the table, you're gonna swing it, and then it was just a vanilla, right? It didn't get its effect. Whereas like Satori will always give you that scry, that look at top two, which is something that I personally really, 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 really value in this deck. I think Satori is the GOAT. I think it is really crazy if you do not play 4 copies of Satori. But that is my opinion. That said, this type of hand, I would mull first and second versus basically everything. I can't really think of a situation where I would keep this. Definitely not in the mirror. Definitely not versus Nami. Not versus... I mean, low-key, maybe versus, like, Green Luna bullshit. You could actually convince me that you could keep this going second. Let me think. Maybe versus GP specifically, you could convince me you keep this going second. Because the Reiju is, like, really, really, really problematic for GP, in my experience. So maybe you can keep this going second versus, like, Luna Hatred stuff. But I don't think I would keep it anywhere else.
Sorry, Elijah, I do have a question.
Yeah, of course.
I see that a lot of people are running the Reiju, and maybe I'm just a shitty player,
Mhm.
but I'm curious, like, what is the advantage that you pull out by playing the Reiju in the mirror?
Yeah, I actually think the Reiju is not good in the mirror specifically. I think that's the matchup where it is weakest. I think it is much better versus basically everything else. So like the matchup that it is best for is again like the Green Hatred because it's a 9 cost, right? So they can't Luna it, which is like a really big deal. Like a really, really, really big deal. I also find that it is often pretty good versus Nami. Because what happens is you get to play it, it's going to get a free block at some point, and then you're going to get to swing it maybe a couple times, or they're going to swing huge at it, like they're going to burn a 9 at it, right? Something like that. So it's going to get a free block, it's going to get to swing, and then after it swings, one of two things will happen. Either they're going to use a 9 at it, or, which is also, by the way, part of the reason why I like Divine Departure a little bit, is Divine Departure allows me to protect that Reiju when opponents swing 9 at it, which really only happens versus Nami, to be honest, but theoretically could happen anywhere. But really, it's like Nami. It's like they turn their Robin into the Reiju, like they attach it onto the Robin. Okay, where was I going with this? So one of two things: either it swings and then they swing big at it, and then like it ate a 9 for you, which is pretty cool, right? Like you spent 1 card in your hand and 4 Dawn to block once, swing or get a free block, swing, and then also eat a big swing, which like that is a matchup where like you can die. So like having those, because Enel has very weak defenses. So I find it is good there. Or the second thing is they don't send the big swing at it, and then like it swings every turn until you leave it standing, and then it will block a big thing, right? Because eventually,
block, poke, 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 poke.
yeah, exactly. So I like it versus Nami. Green, obviously. Sky Island Luffy, it can be good just to like have on board, to like make it harder for them to kill you at the end of the game, like just as like a blocker, right? Like you just put it on the board, try to survive one more turn. That's the matchup. I also don't play it a ton, but like you can. But the mirror, I think it's like not good in the mirror. I try to avoid putting it on the table in the mirror, and it's just a 1k because like people are playing, you know, Gamma Knives and Lightnings, and you spend 4 Dawn on it and then it just dies and you're like, oh sick, that didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Okay. This bottom hand I would for sure mull versus everything except for like you could almost convince me to keep this versus GP Luffy specifically, just because like these removal cards like really fuck GP's bitch. Like if you remove every 7k body that they play, like, you will just win that game. That said, I think this hand is like probably not good enough to keep even versus them. So I think you mull, but like I'm almost tempted to keep versus GP. This top hand I think is a keep in my opinion versus everything first and second. Double Searcher is like incredible. Plus, you know, the secret rare is the best card in your deck. I would personally keep this versus everything. You know, I'm not playing Porsche or Holly or anything like that, so I'm not really looking for those types of cards in my mulligan. Because me personally, I do not think those cards lead you to winning the game as often as I would like. And I think you can win most games without having a super strong turn 2. Like, I think a lot of people, the way they mulligan in this deck is they think like, oh, I need Porsche plus Holly, right? This sort of thing is something I've seen. People like try to mull aggressively for this sort of thing. But I want us to keep in mind the grand theory of One Piece and the way that the game is supposed to play out, right? Like, generally speaking, on turn 1, decks don't really do anything. And generally speaking, on turn 2, decks still don't really do anything. And yet, decks still win the game, right? Because, like, turn 3 onwards, they have really strong turns. And I know Enel is an aggro deck, and that makes people feel like they have to hit this 2-Dawn turn really hard with something like Porsche plus Holly. But truly, I don't know how much you guys have played versus Enel, but low key, if your opponent just plays like 3 1-drops across these 2 turns, you're still low key really annoyed. Like, Nami is like the one deck that's not the case because of the 7k leader thing. But like everyone else, like these 1-drops are really annoying, right? Because like they play this one and then this one's gonna swing 6. And then they play these 2 and then like this one will swing 6 and then this one will swing 6. And also if they're playing 3 of them, you know, if they're all Shuras, sure, they suck, but they probably won't all be Shuras. They'll be like Satori's and Ohms, and like Pudding will find them like a really high impact spell. Like, games are not decided based on like how strong this 2-Dawn turn is. So I, even in lists where I have played Porsche Holly, I have never been one to like mulligan for this sort of thing. Like a deck that I think about a lot, as many of you know, Doflamingo, my favorite deck of all time, back in OP09. A lot of people kind of thought that like, because Doflamingo was a deck that like similar to this Porsche Holly thing, could have a really explosive 3-Dawn turn, right? He could go like swing 7, play Jinbei Weevil off the top of the deck, right? A 5k and a 6k off the top of the deck. People thought that like you needed to do this sort of thing. But also if you played Doflamingo, is something that you will remember is that like if you did this sort of play, right? This really explosive play, particularly if you like played Teach, the 2 cost, right? If you went Teach, Jinbei Weevil on your 3-Dawn turn, this is like really expensive. This takes 2 cards out of your hand because you're playing 3, but the Weevil replaces itself because it draws 1 on play. This is like low-key kind of the same thing as Porsche Holly, where you're having a really explosive play, but it's taking cards out of your hand because Porsche, I don't know if you guys have done the math on Porsche, but if you play only the Porsche and no Foxy, you have, I think it's if you have all 3 other Porsches in your deck, so you have 3 targets in deck, right? You play the 1 and you have 3 targets in deck. The Porsche, I believe, has like a 28% chance to hit. If you play 3 Foxies, which is a number I've seen that's very common, I believe it is 48% to hit off the Porsche. So if you have 3 Foxies and 3 Porsches, if you have all 4 Foxies, it's 55% to hit off the Porsche. So what that means is like best case scenario, this Porsche Holly thing goes -2 in hand 45% of the time. Like best case scenario, right? And like most of the time it goes -2 in hand, like way more often than this. So like what happens in the game of One Piece is like you do this -2 in hand thing, right? You go -2 in hand, and then you super aggro the opponent for like 1 to 2 turns. But like this 5 and 6k body, and again, this is like very, very reminiscent of like Jinbei Weevil. This 5 and 6k body are like very fragile to removal, right? Either via combat or via effect, right? And so what happens is you have all this gas and it looks really good, but it's really hard for your hand to continue doing really strong things turn after turn because A, you just went neg in hand, and B, because you put these bodies on board, your opponent doesn't actually really swing at you, they swing at your board. So like you continue to lose hand size and you continue to lose gas. So what happens is eventually the opponent stabilizes, right? You like low key are very all in on killing them very soon because your hand size is so small. You're very all in on killing them very soon. And a lot of the time that doesn't really work. The opponent stabilizes and then you get kind of gooped. And this is not to say that the Porsche Holly stuff is not good. It's not to say it's not broken. I'm just explaining like part of the reasons why I'm not personally as big of a fan on them as I see a lot of people, just from a big theory standpoint, right? So let's compare that to like if you just play a bunch of 1-drops, right? You play a 1-drop and you like swing and this replaces itself in hand. So you've gone even in hand, right? You're +0. Really, like you went +1 in cards total, right? And then like the opponent has to send a swing here, but like you play 2 more 1-drops. Or because you have 3 of them, they don't send the swing here, right? And then that means they go at your life, which means that like you still have 3 1-drops. And I know it sounds like having 3 1-drops is like not that good because you only get to liquidize 1 of them a turn. And again, you know, all of this changes if like your opponent has 1s as well. But even if your opponent has 1s as well, a lot of the time that means you're playing the mirror, and like you trading 1-drops in a favorable way for you is like a big W, right? But like if you have 3 1-drops, even if you do only get to liquidize 1 a turn, and even if you're not trading into their 1-drops, those 1-drops will very likely be relevant at some point because of Gamma Knife or like or Divine, right? They will eventually like get an extra card. And B, if you have 3 of them, it means that you probably have an Ohm or a Satori, because you know that makes up more than half of your 1-drops is those 2 cards, right? And those cards will get recurring value that will be really, really strong. So I know I just went on a really crazy long tangent about why I really like 1-drops and like why I am not big on the Porsche Holly as much as most people. And I'm not saying I would never play a deck list with these. I might play a deck list with them this weekend. Truly, I've gone back and forth. But I've seen that like this sort of thing is very much the standard, and I know it's also something that Josh really likes. So I just wanted to kind of give an opposing viewpoint and also like why I feel those sorts of ways. But before we continue with me doing more mulligan hands, does anyone have any questions or want any clarification on any of the things that I just said? Because I know I kind of just said a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I do have a question about the mirror. It sounds like with the more traditional lists, I thought we kind of want to avoid dropping the 6-drop and going wide instead. But since you can't really go wide with your list, what's your plan in the mirror and your mulligan by virtue of that?
Yeah. So my mulligan is like for this sort of stuff, like 1s and 6s. I think you can go wide with 1s, and Also, I do think a lot of people think you should avoid playing sixes in the mirror. I don't really think that is true, to be honest. I think the sixes are actually very reasonable in the mirror, particularly when you go first. I think if you like play a six and your opponent does not respond with a six and they like try to go wide, like there are spots where you cannot play a six, right? Like if your opponent is giga wide and you have no board, like obviously playing a six is not going to be great there because you're already behind. In those situations, what I try to do is I try to catch up on board by like removing it via like one drops and spells and stuff, and then like try and find a place to play a six later. But I think like when you play a six, like your opponent has a couple options. They can play their own six. They can try and remove your six, which is pretty difficult for most deck lists to do efficiently. Because like either you like divine and rest it, which, you know, that means they're not developing a body, or they play like a small body, they gamma knife it, and then they kill it. And if they just do if they do like any of those types of plays, your opponent didn't really do anything too crazy, right? It's not like, I mean, they can, right? If they go fucking, you know, Porsche Holly, one drop, gamma knife, Magara, kill your six, like, okay, sure. If they fucking 5-card combo you, sure. Your six is not that great. Like, I agree. If my opponent 5-card combos me, it's a really bad spot, right? Oh, sorry. I might have to sneeze again. No, I think I'm good. But I think generally speaking, it is. Oh no, I do. I'm so sorry, chat. Generally speaking, playing sixes is like, I think, better than a lot of people think. In the mirror. I don't know. The secret rare is just like a broken card. Like truly, what it does is. Go ahead.
I think I'm maybe derailing us here. Hopefully, this will come up in gameplay. Let's say you're the first to play a six. Opponent, let's say, plays a six.
Yep.
Then you play second six. You swing with your first six. Aren't you opening yourself up to having both of your sixes die there? How do you mitigate that?
You don't swing the six.
Okay.
Yeah. You just hold that six for one turn, and then now you have 2 sixes, right? You have 2 sixes, and what do you think your opponent wants to do this turn? They have 1 6, you have 2 sixes. What do you think they want to do?
Yeah, if they just take their entire turn to remove 1 6, that just didn't accomplish anything. If they develop another 6, now you're in the good position where you can remove both of their sixes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Before I move on, I will once again ask chat. Does anyone have any questions or have any clarifications about any of the things I just said? Because I know I just spoke about a lot of shit.
Of one, kind of, maybe two.
Yeah.
Specifically, so you said that Reiju, you don't like Reiju removal plays. At least that's what it sounded like. I heard you say, like, going second. I thought that, like, playing... So if the first Enel player plays a 6, I kind of assumed that the second Enel player wanted to, like, play Reiju and then try to remove their Enel. Do you like just trying to match Enels? Or what is, like, the optimal play for the second Enel player to respond to a 6?
This is a good question. I do actually think that, like, Reiju, if you also will have enough spells in trash, Reiju plus remove their 6 is, like, pretty reasonable. It's just, like, kind of hard for that to be the case because, like, if you are playing the Reiju and you are gamma knifing it, right? It's still a 5, and, like, this is, like, your turn 3. So you might not have anything else on the board to like swing at this 5. So you might only have like 6/6 at it or something. And it's like not that unreasonable for this opponent to counter some percentage of the time. So I think it's like pretty contextual. If you have reasons to believe that like you will actually get to kill this, like maybe this player who went first, maybe they did do the thing where they went neg in hand, right? They like played the the Holly and the Porsche or whatever, and their hand size is a bit smaller than you would normally expect it to be, or maybe you have like some ohm stuff, so like this is smaller, right? It's not a 5, it's a 4, and you get to go like 6/6 at it. Then like yes, I think this is really good. Like particularly if you have ohm and you go like Reiju, Gamma Knife, rest this, and you threaten 6/6 at it, like that is a really, really, really good play. But again, like we're talking about, 3-4 card combo type things. Like that's why it's so contextual, is because this is so much of a combo deck that it's like hard to say exactly what the ideal play is, when like so often the ideal play includes like 4 cards.
Yeah, so to add on to that, if you match sixes, so like if the player
Mhm.
going first plays a 6 and then the second player plays a 6, do you feel like the player going second can often get blown out by having that 6 removed? Like, is matching a 6 a bad play because it opens yourself up to getting blown out, or do you typically try to do that?
Okay, so you're saying, let me clear this. Okay, so this player plays a 6, then we play a 6. You're saying if they clear this 6, or you're saying they play a 6 here?
Yeah. So the first player clears basically like if they in some way clear the 6. Is
Okay,
that
okay.
pretty like, because if
Yeah.
they do their own like Reiju removal play, I feel like the player second just loses often.
Yeah, I will say that is like pretty bad for you. I will admit that is pretty bad for you. If they go, Reiju, Gamma Knife, Magara, that is admittedly pretty bad. I cannot lie to you. So I would say like the 6 isn't necessarily my ideal turn to respond to this, but oftentimes it is the only response you will necessarily have, right? You're not always going to have like these big combo hands that like can deal with their 6. But if you can, I for sure prefer that. If you can, for sure. But that, I mean, the idea of what we're talking about is why the person going first is an advantage, because like they get to play the first 6, and so it's like on this player to respond to this 6 correctly, and if they don't, then like this player then like has the option, right? They can either play another 6, or they can respond to this 6, or whatever bullshit. Okay. Any more questions? All right. moving on.
Yeah,
Oh,
real
yes.
quick.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Whenever I play this version of Enel, I find myself a little bit more than often like not having enough counter sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not like cycling it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wonder what you do for that part.
Yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, the thing that I dislike about this deck the most by far is that this dude is like very mortal. There really has not been a like best deck since 09 that like does not cheat death. And what I mean by that is have like some really crazy defensive tools. Right? Like in EBO2, we got GP Luffy, which was a 6k leader and played Gum Gum Giant, right? And then after that, we got a 6k leader that drew 2 a turn and played Gum Gum Giant, right? And then we got Emu that fucking played 2 blockers and had 12 rad beams, right? We had Mihawk, who is a 7k leader and plays 12 rad beams, right? Like we've had a lot of decks that like really, really cheat death, and are very, very tanky and hard to kill. And my least favorite thing about this deck, honestly, is that he is not that. He is not him. He can die, he can brick, he can blow up. The thing that I have found with this deck, and it has honestly been hard for me, it has been really hard for me, truthfully. Like it has been one of the hardest things for me in my entire One Piece career, and like Sam is beating the dog shit out of me every day, yelling at me. You have to be willing to double one in this deck. This is not a deck that you can like take as easily in a lot of spots as you could with other decks, because it used to be, oh, I'm going to go down to 2 life. That's fine. I'm going to become a 6k or a 7k leader, or I'm going to have these rad beams or whatever, right? And it will be fine. It will still be hard for my opponent to kill me. But what happens is if you are at 3 life and you go to 2 and you don't give this double 1, the way that I so desperately do not want to have to do ever. I never want to. I've talked about it in the dojo before. I'd rather fucking kill myself than give a double 1. Truly, I hate double 1 so much. Like, I think double 1 is like one of the worst fucking things you can do to a human being. What happens if you don't double 1 is like the next turn, the opponent swings 7/7 at you, and low key you blow the fuck up and you die instantly. So obviously I have not seen your gameplay, but what I will say is this is one of the decks. This is the deck of all time that I have ever seen where double 1k is correct so often. It comes up, I don't even know what percentage of games, but it comes up a lot. And part of the reason why it comes up is because, as I'm sure a lot of you know from playing this deck, low key, your 2Ks are not performative. They do shit, right? And there will be times where even if you have a 2K like Kitten or like L Thor, you are not actually supposed to 2K. And I know there are a lot of spots where people are giving a 2K when they should be giving double 1. Because what happens when you give that 2K is you no longer have this Kitten or this L Thor. And then what happens is you don't do a big spell combo. You don't go like Kitten plus Dragon, right? Because you used the Kitten as combo when you could have just given like 2 1-drops that you weren't going to play anyways. So this is for sure a thing. Again, I haven't seen your gameplay. Maybe you do this sort of thing all the time, but from a lot of gameplay that I've seen, and even my own inclination, like Lord fucking knows I do not want to give a double 1k in all the spots where I'm getting yelled at by Sam that I have to double 1k, right? But you actually just have to. You just have to. Because if you give up this Kitten or you take this damage or whatever bullshit, right? And then now you miss out on this combo, or maybe you didn't have this combo, but you don't double 1 and next turn they go 7/7 or they swing 8/9 or some bullshit like that, right? It ends up being really disastrous for you. So I would say this is the deck that honestly, in comparison to like everything else we've had in a long time, you gotta be really fucking intentional about the way you combo. Like really fucking intentional. A, because you are so fragile, and B, because like you are a combo deck and like you need to play certain cards on certain turns in certain ways, and like it's really easy to see like, oh, I have this 2k, I should use the 2k. And that's just not true. I also don't know why I don't know why this pen got so small. I truly don't know what happened there. Why did this get so small? Truly, I don't even know how to use this device. All right, well, we're using the small pen until it changes. Who knows? Okay. Once again, I know I said a lot of shit. Did any of that not make sense to anyone, or does anyone want any clarification? Or does anyone have any further questions?
I'm over here laughing because I like literally just lost a game before this because I was at 3 and I went to 2 and I was like I just don't want to give up a couple 1Ks right now. Like this sounds terrible, and then I just got pummeled.
Yeah, no, I understand. That shit will happen to you for sure.
Yeah, the double 1k shit is bullshit. I was telling people in the chat, it just feels like the extra large strap on. But when it comes down to being intentional, I think you did say something. Is it just intentional as to like your matchup, or is it just keeping that counter if shit hits the fan and then they decide to go fucking, I don't know, like 8-8 instead of like 7-7?
I mean, you just have to be intentional in every way. You have to be very intentional about the cards you're comboing with in regards to the matchup. You have to be intentional about not opening yourself up to like some stupid pressure where they go 8-8 instead of 7-7. Like truly, like this deck, we have for so long played with decks that had such strong defensive tools that like they could just make up for any laziness that you had, right? Whatever, I'll take this damage, it's fine. I got Gum Gum Giant. What are they gonna do, right? Or I have my Warcurry plus Mars, and I have all these rad beams. Like, what are they gonna do, right? And you just don't have that sort of liberty in this deck at all. You have to be so intentional, whether it's about making sure you don't combo away or counter with your combo pieces, making sure you don't under counter in a way that like leads you to dying in a stupid way. For sure, I think it is one of the least talked about parts of this deck. And I think it is the part that at least myself, I have struggled with as I've gotten better at the deck the most. And I think probably a lot of people struggle with it without even really realizing it, is that they are losing games because they are not being intentional enough about how they are countering. And I think it is very specific to this deck, at least in comparison to decks that have been good recently. Like, you know, I got top 8 in Vegas finals with Mihawk, right? You could not get me to double one with Mihawk. There was no fucking world. You would have had to kill me that turn for me to ever double one. But like I low key do that shit on this deck all the time. So, you know, it's just very different. It's just very, very different. Okay. I ask for the 10th time. Should we continue with the mulligans, or does anyone have questions? And I like these questions. Thank you everyone for asking questions. I think this has been really good. I think this has been very insightful for a lot of people. So I'm not saying, you know, it's bad that this has happened as many times as it had. I think it's a really good thing. But does anyone have any more questions before we move on?
This might have been touched on in the masterclass. I have not been able to watch it yet, but how like easily are you taking the first like life or two depending on the matchup, like knowing that you might have to double one later in the game? Are you frequently like 1K'ing out of a 5K swing on like your 4th life, or are you pretty consistently just taking those 2 life?
So in the mirrors specifically, I am often protecting the 2nd life. And sometimes that means giving a 1K on the first 5, because sometimes I will not have, like, I'll be at 5 life and they send a 5 with their leader. This pen thing is really fucking annoying me. I want it to be bigger. Wait.
There's a circle on and
oh yes,
toolbar. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we're back. Okay, sometimes they'll send 5. And I will not have a 2K in my hand that I am happy to give, because like maybe my 2K is L Thor and I needed to like hit a 1 drop, right? In those situations, I will give the 1K, because I think one of the easiest ways you can lose the mirror is like you just die, right? Like you take this 5 because you're not being intentional and you're not thinking about the fact that they can go 6 or 7 next, right? Probably 6, but sometimes it can be 7, particularly if they started with this pudding, right? Then you take this 2nd damage, and then they play the dog, and then you do not have the answer to the dog, and now you just lose, right? You just actually die the next turn, basically, because this thing will swing 9 at you, and now you're at 1, right? And being at 1 and being at 2 is like a really, really huge difference, because when you are at 2... I know this is going to sound really fucking stupid, okay? I know this is going to sound really stupid, so don't fucking make fun of me. But when you are at 2, you're 2 hits away from being at 0. Which I know sounds really stupid, but like in the mirror specifically, when you are at 0, because of Garp spell or Margara or whatever the fuck its name is, like when you are at 0, you can actually just die, right? Because you don't get to cheat death the way other decks do, right? So like when they put you to 1 really early in the game, what it means is they really only need to connect 1 more swing. And then now you are like super at risk of dying at any time. So there are times in the mirror specifically where I will even combo on this first life. In other matchups, that is not the case. Versus like Nami specifically, sometimes I will take to 2, like pretty aggressively. It kind of depends on what your board looks like, right? So like let's say we are going second versus Nami, right? We know that they're gonna like swing once at us on 3, they're gonna swing once at us on 5, and they're gonna play the Nami, because why would they ever miss the Nami, right? So now it's their 7th on turn. So at this point, they had an opportunity to deal 3 damage. If we are happy for them to play Robin on 7, then I will typically counter one of these hits. Like they'll swing a 6 like on 5, right? They swing 6 here. I will combo if I want them to play Robin on 7. If I do not want them to play Robin on 7, and I'm more worried about them playing a second Nami on 7, then I will take. Because if you give like a 2k on this 5, and then on this 7 on turn they play a second Nami, like your bitch has officially been fucked. You gave a 2k for no reason. So it's like low-key a little contextual as to like which one you would prefer. But like Nami is a matchup where like very frequently I take like the first 3. Sky Island Luffy is another deck that like for sure I'm typically taking the first one, maybe even the first 2 before I'm really worried about it. I'm trying to think of what other matchups exist. Lucy, click whatever buttons you want. That deck sucks. GP Luffy, it really depends on like if you think you will have ways to interact with their board favorably, right? Like, do you have things like Reiju? Do you have like removal type things like Lightning or Thor plus whatever? GP Luffy, I typically also really like taking like the first 2 roughly, but again, you have to be very intentional. You have to be thinking turns in advance and thinking like, okay, my opponent will probably do this on this turn. Can my hand cover that swing, right? Maybe you don't have a 2k that you are happy to give, but you do have this 1k that you can give. So like, sure, you'd like to take this second damage, but you know next turn the GP Luffy player is going to be a 6k. But this turn, they're only swinging 5, so I guess I'll give the 1k because I don't really want to go down to 2, right? That sort of thing. I know a lot of what I just said was like, it's contextual and yada, yada, yada. So sorry, but that's kind of the game of One Piece. There's really no hard rules. I can't just say, you know, definitively you take here, you combo here. But these are a lot of the things that I'm thinking about just to kind of run you guys through it. Any more questions before we continue with the mulligans? All right, sick. Ooh, this is a hand that I would mull. But this is like not that far from a hand that I would keep in a lot of situations. Because like we do have double 1, which is pretty sweet. And one of them is Satori, which like Satori is by far the best one to have on turn 1. Generally speaking, at least in non-holy lists. Again, with holy, then it's Ohm. But like if this hand had like one more thing and I liked in it, like low key, if this was even like double Satori, or if it like had a third 1-drop, or it had like a 6-drop, like if there's like one more thing that was good about it, I would be willing to keep this in some matchups, in some situations. The one thing I will say is like versus Nami specifically, you are never allowed to keep a hand that does not have a 6. Because if it is your first 6th on turn and you do not have a 6, that game is over. You can just pack up your cards. Unless the Nami player somehow draws 0 cards in their deck. If they never draw a Robin or a Gecko or hit a trigger, maybe you can win the game. But that deck draws 2 cards every turn. So that shit will not happen. That shit will not happen. So you need to mull very aggressively for the 6s versus Nami specifically. But versus
Guys, quick question about the Senor Pink. How do you feel about seeing that in your opening hand? I'm very annoyed whenever I see it in my opening hand.
Yeah, I'm not huge on it in my opening hand. The only time I really like it in my opening hand is like versus specifically like GP Luffy, Luna,
Like
green Luffy.
stuff where we wanna, okay.
Where I just want to remove their board every turn because like when you gum lightning them and then the next turn you Senior Pink and pick up the lightning again, like they just concede on the spot basically. Like they, like their bitch has officially been fucked. The game is over. Yeah, but yeah, generally speaking, this is not a card that you're like that thrilled to see in your opener, obviously. Okay, we are an hour deep, and we have not started the VOD review. So unless anyone has any more questions, we will start the VOD review. And again, not a bad thing. I'm really, truly very happy about all the questions. I much prefer this over a silent gallery. Let me find one.
I don't think anyone's upset about a back-to-back Enel masterclass.
Yeah. Okay, let's. Okay, this is an Enel game. Dark Show, I see you are here. We're gonna start with yours. Versus Nami. How could this happen to me? Yes. Okay, we are going first. I think this is the sort of trap hand for a few different reasons. First of all, I think a lot of people will, I don't know if you're going to keep or mull. I just want to talk about the hand before we see. I think a lot of people will see this dog and say, hey, I can keep. So that's like the first part of it that's a trap, is like they might want to keep this hand because it has dog. The second part of the reason why they might keep is because they put this Gadatsu card in their deck, and this card is trash, and they should rebuild the deck to not have it in it. So that's the second trap. It's that they put they selected the wrong card in the deck builder. IMO. Okay. Oh, we kept and we're just him. All right. I will say, if you know that the 6-drop is on top of your deck, you can keep that hand. Which, you know, wow. And we found the second 1-drop. You're him. Holy shit. All right, we just swing 5 here and play dog every time. Yeah, no reason to swing the Gadatsu. They counter with a hog back. Really nothing to talk about in this. Okay. And see, this is exactly why I don't like the dog. Now, imagine that this is a game where we did not draw these 6-drops, right? We got pretty lucky. We drew a 6-drop, right? But like what happens is a lot of players, and for sure someone in this chat has had this game whether or not they realize it. They keep a hand because they see some 1-drops and they see dog, or they see 1-drops plus Porsche dog, some shit like that, and they're like, fuck it, I will draw the 6-drop. And then they don't draw the 6-drop, and then they lose the game. Because what happens is the dog barely matters because your opponent is going to kill that fuck on sight every single time. So I know that that's not what happened this game. I'm not saying nothing really other than like for sure the game that I am describing is a game that multiple people who are here right now or who are watching the VOD or whatever, they have experienced that. They have experienced games where they like got baited by the dog, they didn't find the 6-drop, the dog died, and then they lost.
So what's like the alternative early line to like dog? Is it just like multiple 1-drops?
Yeah.
So like 7 on 3 and then like play another 1-drop and then have 2 1-drops?
Yeah. I mean, in this matchup specifically, that's like, obviously you would love to play the dog. I just don't think we can keep a hand without the 6. Like, I mean, if you go 1, 3, 6, that's like obviously ideal, right? Because it's not even like them killing the dog is the worst case scenario, right? Like they had to take a life to do it. Like that's still honestly like a pretty reasonable trade for us, right? We traded 1 card in our hand for 1 of their lives and 1 card in their hand. Like that's low key pretty good. So I'm not saying like we shouldn't play the dog or whatever. I know the list that I just showed didn't have it. But like if you are playing a list with dog, which again, this weekend I might submit a list with dog. It is really broken and it does do things like this where even when your opponent does kill it, it trades with a life. So if you can play the 3, otherwise like playing more 1-drops again, for me, this would have been Satori, right? Satori is making sure that I get through my deck so I see the cards I need. Because like versus Nami, you low-key kind of need to spell combo them. Like, right, you go first, so like you play like the 6-drop, and then like the next turn, they play the Nami on 6. And then what you really need to do the next turn is you need to go 6 plus Kitten, Magara, Dragon. You need to have a 4-card combo on your 8 Dawn turn. Right? Or no, it's your 7 Dawn turn. It's technically your 7 Dawn turn. You need to have a 4-card combo. Which is why I really value like Satori and why even when I am doing multiple 1-drop things, I'm not that upset that I'm not like playing a dog, because like these sorts of things will like get me to like these big combos, particularly again if it's Satori. But a play that you can do, again, I'm preparing for Red Bull Double Dawn. I know a few other people in here are also doing the same thing. Is on this turn, what you can do is you can go swing 7 with lead. Like you start your turn with 2 Dawn, right? You attach the Double Dawn here. You swing 7. You play a second 1-drop. You detach it. Then you use leader skill, and then like this swings 8, right? So you get to like play a 1-drop and swing 7, 8. So that's cool. Or, you can, I think you can also play double 1 and swing 7, 7, if I'm not mistaken. So
Got you. But I see the point. Is more realistically not about like the curve, but just about the mulligan.
Yeah. It's not that the dog is bad. It's just that like the dog will not win you this game. The 6-drop will. So I just really wanted to emphasize that like people need to mull in a different way than I saw right there. Because I see like so often I see people just like, ooh, dog, good. Or like 1 dog specifically is the mull pattern that I see people do a lot. Here I want to grab it's either the Garp spell or the dragon. Either one is fine. I think you typically need more dragons than you do Garp spells over the course of the game versus Nami. So I lean towards dragon. You grabbed Reiju, which I think is also an acceptable answer. I guess, okay, my question is like, is this list playing blocker Enels or no?
No, it's
Okay.
the
Mhm.
it's the one in the codex, the control Enel list with
Okay,
two-
okay.
two-
If that's the case, then yeah, grabbing this Reiju is more reasonable.
So a quick question.
Mhm.
Given we already have a senior pink and the secret rare in our hand, do we really need a third body that we potentially won't play for? Like we can't play all three of these like on the same turn, obviously. So like that's
Yeah.
like 3 turns worth of bodies in our hand now.
Yeah, that is actually the reason why I did not want to grab this originally. Was like we are pretty far removed from playing this, and like we will see a lot of cards by the time we are asked to put this on the table. I will say I think we are less turns than you think. I think we are going to play this secret rare and then this Reiju.
Just because we need
But
the blocker, I'm guessing, right?
yeah, just like we need the blocker, and also like this senior pink, at least how our hand looks right now, will not actually have like anything super meaningful to grab back yet. Like by the time we can play this, it's not like we would have dragoned something already, because like we don't have a dragon, and like in order for us to need a dragon on this turn, we would need to find Garp spell, kitten, and dragon all next turn, which is basically not I mean, it is technically kind of possible, but not really. It would be like we have to draw one here and then draw one here and then search one here, but it's just like not really realistic because we're missing all three pieces. So I think we're never really playing this pink with this type of hand the following turn, which means that like this Reiju would be good. That said, ideally we probably want to try and develop a third 6, which ideally is actually the blocker Enel. If you think that you are going to be playing versus Nami a lot, I think you really should play 2 blocker Enels. I probably will this weekend, because like to win this matchup, in my opinion, you low-key need 3 6s. Like sometimes you can win with 2, particularly with the Reijus, but you typically need 3, and it's like very, very hard for this third one to be the secret rare. It kind of has to be the blocker, because like by then they will have they should have like you play this, they play Nami, you play the second one, they play Robin. So they have like at least 2 bodies. Sometimes they have 3 if they hit a trigger. My opponents always hit Kikanojo, so my opponents will also always have the Kikanojo on board. And I'm not exaggerating. Me and Sam have scrimmed this matchup 100 times, and I fucking swear to God she hits this Kikanojo every time. I crashed out on her yesterday. I was like, you fucking dumb bitch.
So back to this search. My thinking was that so it's still our turn. I would think we grab the what's it called, lightning dragon. Then they play the 5-cost Nami. Then we play another secret rare. Then they swing with the 5-cost Nami, and then we just freeze the 5-cost Nami for the rest of the game.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. That's why I also wanted to grab the lightning dragon, because I think like freezing things like the Nami is really, really important. It like really alleviates a lot of pressure, because sometimes they will have turns. I guess also I'm really thinking in the headspace of the Red Bull Double Dawn, where it's very often that they can have like 2 Dawn, right? Like they'll have they're on 10. They're going to play the Moria, right? That means they have 2 floating Dawn. They attach the double Dawn here. They attach a single Dawn here. That's 7/7. And like when you freeze this, it's just 1/8, right? And 1/8 is very chill. You can either block it with like a blocker Enel, or you can take it, or you can block 2 with the Reiju or whatever shit, right? It's like when they get to do the 7/7, that's really problematic. So I find that these and I find this to be the case even in standard, by the way, not just Red Bull Double Dawn, but I find that these dragons are like a really big piece of how you win this matchup often. Because I know this is going to sound really dumb. I know this sounds really dumb, but it is more true in this matchup than every other matchup. But the way that you lose this matchup is that the opponent kills you before you kill them. And I know that sounds really dumb. But like particularly with this matchup is what happens is like they get these bodies like the Nami, the Robin, the Moria, whatever, and because you don't cheat defense, like these things hit you really hard and like kill you pretty quickly. And like Nami is just very hard to kill because like she heals and she's a 7k leader, right? She is the exact antithesis of you, where like you can just die and she low-key can just not die. So what that means is like you kind of need the game to go a little bit longer than a lot of Enel matchups, which means that you kind of need to chain these dragons. Like I think games that you win versus Nami, there's like a couple key things, a couple key pieces. And this is the matchup that I have scrimmed the most by far because it's Enel's hardest matchup, and like we have been trying really hard to make it better. But like the key tenets are like, first of all, you have to chain sixes, and it has to be the first one. You have to play 6 on 6. If you miss the 6, just fucking pack up your cards, honestly. The second one is that like you have to like swing good numbers, and like we will talk about that sort of stuff as we like continue. The third piece is that like you need the game to go a little bit longer, so you'd like need to have like multiple dragons typically. And there's like one more key tenet. Yeah, there's like some other stuff like how I talked about like whether you go to 3 or 2. Yeah, you like you need to hit big spell combos is also like this 3, right? Like they're kind of the same thing. The dragons and the spell combos are like basically the same thing, but like you kind of need this sort of thing to go right for you. Oh, you also 4, and this one is completely out of your control. They can't hit too many triggers. Low key, even one trigger can lose you the game, which is really bad because they play fucking 50. It just kind of depends on when that trigger happens and what it is. Like if first life, very beginning of the game, you swing at them, and they hit a Kikanojo on you, and they went first, I'm not gonna lie, your bitch is fucked. You are gonna lose that game, because at that point, what happens is the Nami player has already pressured you so much. Like it's your 6 Dawn turn. You just hit them. They have a Nami on board. Now they just triggered a Kikanojo. And now your bitch is just fucked. Truly. If I'm to be as honest as possible, your bitch is completely fucked if they hit the Kiku on your 6 Dawn turn. But anyways.
One more question about the search. So regardless of whether we grab the Rage or the Lightning Dragon, I noticed we're about to pitch the dog here. We're about to trust the dog, but like the dog can double develop with either the Senior Pink or the Rage on the same turn. Is there a reason to like keep the dog? For that reason?
I would have kept the dog not for the double develop. I mean, maybe you can actually double develop it with the Reiju. That's probably true. I think it's probably unlikely you get to develop it with the Senior Pink because you just won't have defenses most likely, unless like you're having like a really sick turn where like maybe our hand really develops and like we get like a cool spell turn type thing, which the Senior Pink helps with. So I do think there are worlds where we could dog Reiju. That could happen and that could be good. So I would pitch the Lightning because the Lightning is like useless. But I would also like keep the dog because it's a 1k even if we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, no, we for sure pitched the Lightning. That shit is a brick that does not do anything. I mean, the one thing it does in this matchup is like we get to remove a Borsellino eventually, but like low key that shit doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we can trust it now and pick it up with a Senior Pink when the time comes.
Yes. Yeah. That is
I
also
have
very true.
one question with this matchup. So I
Mhm.
feel you kind of touched on it. I feel like often the way that I lose this matchup the most is like literally like swing, Kiku trigger, second life, like hogback trigger, and they play
Yeah.
hogback, whatever. And they have these board that's like Nami, Kiku, hogback, and every body has repercussions to kill. Do you just try your best to put them all in jail? Like I feel like you can't ever swing at any of them. Are you ever like clearing those bodies?
So, okay. Those answers, that is a great question. Thank you, Nathan. So what I like to do is I will swing my board face and then I will swing my leader for 5 at the hogback or the Perona, obviously, either one. Because what happens is when you swing at this hogback, it plays the Perona, but the Perona doesn't do anything that turn. So it's really no problem because like it's actually the opposite of a problem. The Perona, if they only have one, is no longer in trash, which is really cool because it means that next turn when you swing again at their face, they no longer have the Perona in trash for a trigger to like stop an attack, right? Like you do your first swing, they take it, and then like if this Perona is in trash and it's a trigger, boom, they stopped an attack. If it's not, they can't. Even if that is not the case, right? Let's say they have 2 Peronas. You kill this hogback, it summons a Perona. That Perona didn't do anything. You now get to swing this 5 at the Perona the next turn. You do the same thing. You send these swings face, and then you swing it at the Perona. And then now either A, they give you a card out of their hand, which is cool. You got a card for free. Or B, they let it die, and you're also pretty happy about that because it means that you get to keep a card in your hand. And like, again, this Perona dying, you already swung your board, it doesn't do anything. So the hogbacks, I will say yes. Generally speaking, I will swing 5 at it with my leader.
If they don't have Kiku in trash, I assume.
Yeah, if they don't have Kiku in trash. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a great point. Yeah, if they don't have Kiku. The second thing, if there's a Kiku on board, I think depending on how early in the game it is and depending on your hand structure, you can sometimes kill this. And what I mean by that is that if you think that you are happy to play a longer game, right? Let's say you have like, you know, you're going to be able to play like multiple secret rares and you're going to play like a blocker, Enel, and then like maybe you play like 2 Reijus, or maybe you play like secret rare, blocker, or whatever, right? If you know that your board is eventually going to get really big, and this is something that came up a little bit more when I was testing Rosie Law, which I think is actually a pretty solid card in this matchup, is because what Rosie Law does fundamentally is like, it does all the things that the Reiju does, but it also replaces itself and it blocks a 7 instead of a 6. So it just actually like genuinely increases your survivability by a good bit. Like it typically will buy you like 1 extra turn of the game. If you think that the game going a little bit longer for you is good because you are going to have a lot of big bodies, it needs to be 3+. Really like even 4 for this to be the case, but like really 3+. Sometimes like 3 with the Reijus, you can make this happen. You can kill this Kiku in those situations. But if you think like maybe you've already taken some sort of damage or whatever, then I think you ignore this Kiku. I will also say if their board is also really dog shit, like, you know, they missed out on the Nami or whatever, right? Let's say they missed the Nami and they just played the Kiku. And like if you kill this Kiku and then like the next turn they play the Robin, and if you're at like 2 life still, and then you kill this Robin also the turn they played it, it does a damage, but at this point like you've cleared their board and you're at 1 life, but you being at 1 life is like actually very chill because they have no board, and like this 6k and this 7k were like low-key gonna be more problematic than like anything anyways. So sometimes you can kill the board. And I know that this is always a lame answer to give, but it is contextual. And I can only kind of tell you like the things that I'm thinking about. There's not really a hard rule about it, but sometimes I do be killing their board, even if the board has those negative consequences. Even the Robin, the Moria, the Kiku. There's a time and a place where you can kill all of them. Even the Nami. The Nami, low key, I don't think you are ever allowed to kill when the opponent has 2 life. Unless you have like a really hard read on their hand. Like Sam and I played a game yesterday where I had the read that she had like a gum rifle in her hand because she like left up a dawn and like she was not going to do that shit performatively. And I was like also pretty sure the way she was playing that she had a Zeus and she only had like a 2-card hand. So I said like, okay, fuck you, I'm going to go at the Nami. And like that was her hand and like it was fine. But generally speaking, even if the hand is like only 4 cards, like I was playing with Zelcom earlier, we were testing this matchup. Cameron, shout outs Cameron. And like my hand was 4, and he was like, I want to swing at the Nami here, and I had 2 life. And I was like, if you swing at the Nami here, like I can very easily have a Borsellino, and if I get to summon a Borsellino for 0 mana, you lose the game on the spot. Because you just like, you Swan 6 at this thing, which means like, you use some sort of resource, right? Like you attached a Dawn somewhere or something. So you used a resource to like kill this Nami, and then what you got in return was I developed a blocker and healed one. Like you lose the game on the spot. And like something to keep in mind is like most of the time, and again, I know I just gave this example where like I made a soul read and like I did attack even though the Nami player could have theoretically played Borsellino. Even if they only have 2 cards in hand, it is very easy for one of those 2 cards to be Borsellino. Like again, you kind of have to like, do some hand rating and be smart, but Nami is the one that I personally swing at the least, except for the turn that they play Gecko Moria if they like heal a Kumasi. Because then this life is face up and then you can kill the Nami for free and it's pretty sick. Yeah, but those are the sorts of things I'm thinking about when I'm down for this. I think that this play makes it so that this 1-drop doesn't get cleared. And we also get to swing an additional 7. And we have low-key pressured the opponent a little bit already because they Zeused us before. They have 1 less life than normal, which low-key 1 life is low-key a lot. So like when we have that, and like we know we're gonna have these 2 secret rares and we went first, I like the idea of like going very aggressive and like using a card out of our hand to like get to swing an additional 7 and keep the body. That does not mean that this is always correct. Again, everything is contextual. This does not mean that you always burn the L4 to like swing an additional 7. Again, there are types of hands that we could have, multiple 6 costs, blocker, whatever, right? Where maybe we want the game to go just like 1 turn longer, where we wouldn't do this sort of thing. So we just have to be very mindful of that sort of thing. I want to play 6 cost this turn and hope to find... We can't really find a combo here, but we do need to pitch this 3rd 6 cost. I don't think we ever get to play it. We could if it was the blocker, but this is just the regular one. I would start with 5. I think 5 is a good number to start with. Also, I know I'm fucking beating the shit out of a dead horse right now, so I apologize. But imagine if this Satori, or if this Gadatsu was a Satori. We would like, oh, I do not like this Reiju at all. And I will explain why. This is, in my opinion, low-key the last turn we get to develop one of these. I think it's very unlikely that we ever get to develop another one. Like, I think we will just be too low, right? Like, if we think about how the game's going to play out, like, next turn, they're going to, like, swing at us twice. We might, like, block one and then, like, take one, something like that. And then what will happen is they will have a Robin and we will be at 1 life, and like playing the secret rare will just be like too slow at that point. So like we'll just like fall over basically. So I wanted to play the secret rare this turn personally. Yeah, but can you imagine how many scries this fucking Satori would have gone? That shit would have been peak. I'm also not exactly sure why we're turning the Shura sideways instead of the other one. I guess we're turning this one sideways because, like, if they got the crazy idea to swing at this, we would be happy. And they're more likely to, like, waste a swing at it. I mean, it truly doesn't matter is the real answer. Oh, wow, we zeroed them. That's actually crazy. All right, never mind. You better than me because I would not have zeroed them here. And zeroing them here makes them have to Moria. So I mean, this is pretty cool. I will not lie. This is actually pretty good.
I want to say something.
Mhm.
I agree with the Reiju play not being good here because Reiju is still a 5K.
Yeah, it's not even a blocker. Yeah, that is true.
It still is a blocker. It's just not 7K. But full transparency, I played her with the intention of her thinking that she was like fully statted. This is like my second time playing this list, so I'm like, I make a lot of mistakes.
Oh, no worries. It happens. Yeah. Even if she was fully statted, I still didn't necessarily want to play her there. Wow, this is crazy. Wait, our opponent... Oh, no, he's just going to play Borsellino. Okay, real. This is like kind of... This is another fundamental thing. I'm about to go on another rant, all right? So I hope y'all are fucking buckled in, all right? When you make a super aggressive play like this early in the game, it looks really cool. And I say early in the game, and this is like turn 5 or whatever, right? It looks really cool because like we zeroed the opponent. And for a moment, it looked kind of bleak for the opponent. I was like, oh, they can't Robin here. They can't Gecko plus have a Dawn attached. Like, ooh, this looks like it could be good for us. But just fundamentally, like, it is actually really hard to kill any reasonable deck from that sort of position when our board is not super developed, right? Like, if we think about our board, we have like a bunch of shitter 1-drops that they get to swing for like 7 basically, and into a 7K leader, so they demand 1 card, right? And then like we have this Enel. So we have like 1 real body on the board. What happens when you make an aggressive line like this, and I'm not saying it's never correct, because some games you do just have to say like, fuck it, I'm gonna go super aggro and hope that you do not have the answers, because if you don't, I'm just gonna lose the game in 2 or 3 turns anyways. An example is, I know I keep using Sam as an example, but last June, Sam and I were playing Teach versus GP Luffy at the very, very start of OP11 format, and it was like her 8 Dawn turn. She was playing Teach, and she was like, you know what? I can never win this game if we play a regular game. I am just going to pitch all 9 cards in my hand and try to kill you right now on my 8 Dawn turn. And like, you know, that's a sick fuck thing to do, right? Pitch 8 cards and go for game on your 8 Dawn turn. But like, she was correct, and I did almost die. And like, if she didn't try to be super aggressive, the way that the game was playing out, like I was building a board, she was unable to remove that board. If any of you have ever played Teach, in that situation, if your opponent as the GP player is like building this big wide board, trying to take the game longer will just give them more opportunities to like, kill you and like find giants and like shit like that, right? So she just decided, fuck it, YOLO, pitch my hand for these 2 Burgesses, go for game. And like, that shit didn't work, but it's a, sometimes you do have to like do some shit like you did where you like basically discarded an L4 to like deal an extra damage. But most of the time you are not supposed to do that sort of thing, because when you very much underdevelop your board, what happens is your opponent takes 1 defensive turn, and for yellow it's really easy because they have so many different turns that could look like this. But it's not just yellow that can do this. It's like most decks have the capability to do this. They take 1 defensive turn, and like on paper, right? If I were to tell you before this game, your opponent on 8 is going to play Borsellino, right? You would say, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Like he just played like a 6K that healed him. Like that's amazing. Normally on that turn, they play a 10K that heals them, right? Or they play an 8K that heals them. And when they play this 8K, it also draws them a card. And when they play this 10K, it heals a Thane that stuns my 10K, right? Like on paper, the opponent having this turn sounds really good because they had a really weak turn. But they are allowed to have that weak turn when you underdevelop your board, because what happens is you put all of these resources, right? You put all of your Dawn, you put your entire turn into like trying to pressure them. And what happens is they just take this 1 weak turn and then they stabilize. And then you're never really going to be in a good position to kill them ever again. Which is like just fundamentally a thing of One Piece. Is like there are very specific windows where you are reasonable to kill the opponent, and like you kind of have to build your board and get there. And again, I'm not saying like the type of turn you took last turn was always incorrect. I think it was in this spot. Like I for sure would have played the 6 cost. But just like a very important thing to understand fundamentally is like a lot of people when they play aggro decks, I saw this a lot in GP Luffy back in the day, in Dofi back in the day, like they try to force the issue. But generally what happens is when you win the game, it kind of just happens naturally. You just kind of like put the cards on the table that are the good cards, right? The cards that you know in your brain are strong and have a lot of presence and do a lot of good things. You just kind of do those sorts of things. And then like you keep doing that until the turn before you die. You wait until right before you're going to die. And then you go for it. And then you like say, fuck it, now's the time, right? Or what happens is like you do the slow thing. And then like eventually there's like a crack in the opponent's armor, like they double one or some bullshit, and you're like, oh shit, you're really fucked, buddy. And then you like accidentally kill them. Like that happens a fair percentage of the time too, where you're like, I wasn't even planning to kill you this turn, but like fuck it, you're dead. All right, we will continue. I feel like low key, this might I be yapping in all of the sessions. I know you guys know that I'm a big yapper. I say a lot of shit in these, but this might be a new record for me not clicking the play button, not mulliganing the hand, and like actually going on like a 30-minute tangent, like nonstop. So hopefully y'all fuck with it, because we've done it a lot this time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I do not want to use this here. Yeah, you agree. Our hand is so bricked. We might just be dead next turn, low-key. I definitely did not want to use that here for a few reasons. First of all, really easy for us to die. Imagine this was a brick and the opponent started the turn by swinging 6. We would have been sick. So that's the first reason. The second reason is like this card will be important for the turn we go for game, and I think it is pretty unreasonable to assume that that is this turn. And like the reason it is important, truthfully, most of the time it's actually not that important when you go for game versus Nami, because normally what really happens is you have like 3 big bodies and like they plant like a Kumasi here, and then what happens is you go like this, and then like you can't really boost unless you have like 2, you can't boost both of them, right? So really what happens is like you only get to boost one of these, and then like the Kumasi just fucks, or the Perona just fucks whichever one you didn't boost. So a lot of the time it's not important, but like in this specific situation, because we only have 1 big drop, like this card in our hand was really important for 2 reasons. Like first of all, it's a 2K, so like it could keep us alive. And the second reason is like if we are going to kill, it is very much going to involve like this thing getting to swing, and it has to be the last swing because we have no other swings that could be the last swing basically. So I was not a fan of using this personally, but I mean, it's possible maybe we had to use it because we had to draw another dragon to like stun this hogback. I mean, I could see that. You could convince me that that's why we had to do it. All right, we swing 8. We swing there. They take. Oh my god, they only swing 5. God is good. How the fuck do they only swing 5 here? Yeah, imagine they swung 6 first action and we drew a brick. Oh my god, we'd be so sick. All right, your bitch is fucked. And I'm going to be on. Okay, so this game played out very differently than like most games. And I'm going to assume you do not kill him here because like it will take a lot to go right for us to kill him here. But I just want to talk about like the fundamental part of like what I think is the problem with the matchup. Which is like, again, I know it sounds stupid. They get to kill you before you kill them. I know it sounds stupid, but like really what that looks like is the Nami player puts you in a position where like you are going to die, and then they just do some bullshit like this. And it normally involves Borsellino. It doesn't always involve Marco. In my experience, it very rarely involves Marco. It's typically like a Perona, or they like leave a Dawn up for rifle, or they play a Gecko Moria and they heal a Kumasi. Like all of these things are very ignorant and like very easy for the Nami player to survive 1 more turn. Like she's the goat of surviving 1 more turn. And yeah, that's why this matchup is hard, because they get to do some shit like this. And sometimes they even go Borsellino plus Zoro, the heal Zoro. I've seen a lot of people play that shit. And it's very hard to kill versus that too. I think we have to go. I mean, we have to kill, obviously. I think we have to like basically go 8 with our leader. Okay, so we're just saying, fuck it. We draw L Thor. Sure. I'm not sure that was more reliable or actually better than just trying to ship 8-8. I think I would have tried to ship 8-8 there, but it's okay. 8-8 was never getting through, to be fair. That shit was never working. But also, truly, this Elthor shit was never working either, so it kind of goes both ways. All right, now we're just clicking buttons for fun. We're going to continue because you're dead. It doesn't matter. Okay. We will go on to the next game. Okay. Ty VIP, I believe you're still here. You just said something recently, so I imagine you are. We're going versus Lucy. I imagine this is a similar decklist tie as the last one we saw, where it has like the Reijus and some of the control cards and whatnot. Low key, I'm not gonna lie. Need to be able to talk about decklist before watching. Maybe we continue. Maybe he comes back later. Sneaky's here. Yes. Sneakies, are you here?
Yeah, but I didn't post a video.
Oh, Logan
think I-
did. Logan.
Yeah. It
Oh, you
was
saw
off the thread, so I added it for you.
I am here.
Nice. All right. Okay, I'm actually gonna ask. First, I'll ask you, Logan, and then I'll ask chat. Do you want to watch another Nami, like game versus Nami, or did we go through enough of the Nami stuff and you guys would prefer to see something else? Do you want to
Like,
see
watch
this
it on-
game?
but maybe we don't like pause at every single decision point this
Mhm.
time.
Okay,
What are-
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we can go quicker through it then.
Okay. Okay, we have to mull for 6-drop. I'm gonna put this on fast speed. Yes, I am down to cycle this for sure. Yep, we play the dog. The dog dies, I'm sure. Ooh. Okay, I understand why you cycled. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Can't really do both.
Yeah. Yeah, our bitch is fucked. We lose the game. Truly, I don't
Yeah.
even know how much more of this we have to watch, to be honest with you. I mean, we'll go through it quickly, but to be honest, truly, I think no game actions you make for the rest of the game. Like, even now that we found this secret rare, we are too slow. We are never going to win. But we will go through it quickly. Oh, this is very illegal. I mean, I understand what you're going for, because, but truthfully, the longer we wait, the worse the 6-drop is going to be. So, like, we also can't do that.
Yeah.
But like, I understand your vision for sure. What did we do with this Satori, by the way? Okay. I wonder if we, nah, I was gonna say, I wonder if we're ever supposed to go 7-7 here, but that's just not how that works. Oh, like I was thinking with the Satori. Okay, and you pop that so you can keep the Satori. You know what?
I can just swing 7.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually down for this line. I'm down for it. I don't think that it's going to lead to us eventually winning the game, but like, I see the vision for sure. Satori is the GOAT. Holy shit. Okay, we left up. I will say though, me personally, unless I am looking for something very specific, which in my opinion, in this spot, we weren't looking for something super specific. I normally search and then Satori. Like sometimes when I need something super specific is like if I really want my Porsche to hit, or like I really need like a specific spell to combo the opponent like this turn. Otherwise I will normally search and then Satori. Because like generally speaking, there will be a good card in my top 5. Okay, these pinks are low-key going ham.
Do you have considered playing Reiju and killing Robin there?
That's a good question, low-key. Let me see. It is his only body, so that definitely makes me more interested in it. I think I'm down. Especially because we're developing the Reiju, like a lot of the time he's going to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's going to 10 next turn. The Reiju is a little less good. I thought he might be going to 9. I mean it's still not bad. We get to like block Mamaragan if he plays like Moria. I think you might be right that maybe we can play this Reiju. I think this game is already so off script that like fuck it, we need to like kind of play a different type of game. Maybe you're right. Honestly, I don't know the answer. You could be right, for sure. It being his only body is like really appealing. I could see it. I could see it for sure. low key, I feel like we're pretty happy that he's doing this
Yeah.
bullshit. I kind of can't believe he did all of that. That was like low key really generous of the opponent. He could have gone 7-8 at our 2 life, and instead he was like, "Yo, what if we go at the fucking 6K bodies?" That was crazy. Bro thinks he's playing versus a different deck. He does not know he's playing versus Enel for sure. We bought him these.
We didn't talk about it in the last VOD, but would you
Mhm.
mind touching on how you typically respond to Newgate? I feel like that walls me out of the game pretty frequently.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The Newgate can be problematic. I think if you can remove it, like particularly with like gamma knife stuff, it's worth it. I mean, it's really hard for that to be the case. I will not lie to you. It is a problem. I will be honest with you. It is not ideal for sure. Yeah. Truthfully, I don't have a lot of advice for it, unfortunately. At the end of the day, this is a bad matchup in my opinion. I might have more advice on that next week. When Sam and I have been playing the matchup, we have not felt good about it. Josh claims differently. And we're going to spend some time with Josh next weekend and see, you know, maybe he's doing some really different things than we are. And maybe he can enlighten us, but I don't know. I'm personally of the opinion that it's pretty tough. What did you want to say?
As it stands, like, I have felt that Nami is like particularly very difficult to beat, especially if they know how to play the game. Like, I feel like often when I'm beating Nami, it's because like I'm just better than them. Like, they make a lot of stupid mistakes.
For sure.
Do you think there's an argument to just play Nami over Enel, or does it have some other like issues with like the Lucy matchup or other things like that that make you sway towards playing Enel?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, yes, Nami is a real pick, and you could convince me that it is the pick. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys. Sam and I don't even know what we're playing in 48 hours from now. Like, we literally have been fucking tortured individuals over the last couple days, not knowing if we're gonna play Enel or Nami, because Nami has some really serious flaws. Namely, the Lucy and Ace matchups, in my opinion, are very horrendous for Nami. I also think that Nami is worse versus the green stuff. I think GP can really easily fuck your bitch. I think red-green can very easily fuck your bitch. Like, you are a Luna victim for sure. So Nami has some bad matchups, like more than an L for sure. And a lot of the reason why we have struggled so much is like, theoretically, Nami struggles into so many more things, but like, we are so early into the metagame that like, and especially like, you know, the tournament that we are preparing for in Red Bull, right? It's an 150 person invite only tournament. Who the fuck knows what anyone's gonna play, right? It's a very unique format. A, the literal format has never existed in Japan. B, it's like an even more unique format than you would play in locals because of the double dawn thing. So like, there is an argument to play Nami, but it is hard to say if it is the correct pick. I think Enel has a lot less bad matchups. I think truly the only matchup that I do not want to pair into is exactly Nami, or like a yellow deck that like hits a bunch of Thriller Bark triggers on me. Like, I guess if you randomly paired into like yellow Enel and they hit a bunch of Thriller Bark triggers on you, like, that shit's kind of annoying too. Or even like black yellow Moria, sometimes just like the Perona triggers, like sometimes they get there, but I think those two decks are obviously a lot worse than Nami. So yeah, I mean, it's really tough to say. I wish I knew which one I was playing. The other thing is, Enel is a lot more fun than Nami, you know? So it's also hard to submit Nami for that reason. Because I also feel like, personally, Nami does not have the most agency. At least not compared to a lot of decks that I have played. And part of that is because Nami's matchups in the game right now are so polarizing. Like, when you play versus an L, as long as you click some buttons correctly sometimes, you will win the game. Like, I'm sure everyone here has played versus a Nami and they felt like the Nami played poorly and the Nami still won, right? Like, I'm guessing Logan is going to lose this game despite the fact that we just saw this Nami opponent make our leader a 6K for fun, right? They swung 7-6 at a body that does not matter instead of 7-7, and this Nami is still gonna win the game, right? And the flip side is also true. I can be the GOAT as the Nami, and in my personal opinion, if you pair into Lucy or Ace, a lot of the time you just do not have agency and you are just going to lose anyways. So because of that, it is like harder for me when I am, you know, obviously very confident in myself as a player. It's very hard for me and Sam as well to like convince ourselves that we should play Nami when it feels like A, the deck does theoretically have more bad matchups. B, we don't know what the metagame is really going to look like because, you know, everything's unique and things are changing very quickly. And C, we feel like the deck has less agency, right? So there's a lot of reasons to not pick Nami. The flip side for why you should pick Nami and why it's such a hard decision is like this Enel Nami matchup is low-key kind of cancer on the Enel side. You're not really thrilled when it happens. And everyone knows that Enel is BDIF. It's no fucking secret. Which means really, if this is the only deck that like really beats Enel, theoretically, you should either play Enel or you should play Nami. You should play one of those two things, right? It makes no sense to play anything else, in my opinion, currently. You know, maybe there's some goo out there that I don't know. GP was my hopeful goo. I fucking spent a lot of time on GP. And I really wanted it to be the goo. But to my knowledge, there's not really a great third option. So if that's the case, if you know that everyone should pick this option or this option, you should always pick this option, because then you have a 50-50 here and you have a dominating matchup here. So you're losing versus nothing, whereas if you pick here and everyone plays these two things, then like you have one 50-50 and one bad matchup. But the problem is, that's not the world we live in, and who knows if that's the case, right? Like, you can easily play Nami and pair into fucking Lucy and an Ace and Green, and you're like, fuck, my bitch is fucked. That's tough, right? So I don't know. Truly, I don't know. Might fucking flip a coin to decide which one we submit. I know this is a tangent and it was low key a little fiery, but it's because it's really been bothering me this week. I'm not gonna lie, I've been like crashing out. Like, it fucking sucks. Like, I do not want to play this Nami deck for all the reasons I just answered, but like, also, you know, I could just play an L and my Nami opponent can play poorly and trigger Kikanojo first life and my bitch will be fucked. So, you know, I can't say that this is the format that I am most high on, but something that I always remind myself, and this is the silver lining, okay? Because I'm sure a lot of you have had experiences like this where you're not thrilled about like the format, or you're not thrilled about like how the game is treating you currently. Something that I always recenter myself with is that scrims are always way harder than the tournament. Always. It doesn't matter like what is going wrong. in scrims or on ladder or whatever you want to call it, this shit will always be way harder. Always, always, always. If you are playing ladder, if you are getting to the top of ladder, I promise you, your games will always be way harder than they will in the tournament. Obviously, not the end of the tournament, right? If you make it to, you know, if you're XO or X1 going into the final rounds, or you make top cut or whatever, like, then that shit is the same. But like rounds 1 through 8, for sure, this like top of ladder, or if you're playing versus other people that you know are good, right? Like I'm playing versus Sam every day right now, right? She's living in my house for this week as we prepare for Red Bull. You know, she's the best player on the planet, right? So I'm crashing out because I'm like, fuck, beating this Nami deck is impossible. But, you know, she fucking hits Kikanojo trigger first life every time, and like my fucking round 2 opponent at Red Bull won't do that. So it's fine, right? But just something to always recenter yourself with. Like, sure, you're not winning every game in scrims or on ladder or whatever, but by the time the tournament happens, it's all good, bro. You're going to be playing versus like some random Jimmy who lives in the area, you know. He's not like that, you know. It will be fine. And like the games where you do play versus someone who's like that, you will play your best, and like, you know, even if they are really good, it doesn't mean that they're going to play perfect that day, and maybe you draw better than them, and like you're going to win anyways. It's fine. We scry. We swing 10, they block. Pitch the lightning. I think actually we're supposed to pitch the secret rare. There's just no world where we ever get to play the secret rare, but there is a world where like we need this lightning to kill a Borsalino to go for game.
But given the Zeus, right? I would imagine the NL deck without dog is probably better win rate versus Nami.
Yeah, but the problem is they always have Zeus. That's the real issue. Also, low key, I think the dog makes a bit less of a difference than people think. Like Sam was telling me about a game she played on ladder either last night or this morning as Nami, and the opponent went Ohm dog, and the Ohm swung for 8, and she did not have the counter, and she took. And the next turn, the dog swung, and she did not have the counter, and she took, and she went to 0, and she won that game, and it was not close. Because, you know, low key, these sorts of things, like, they're not gonna be the thing that actually kills the opponent, right? They can help you get to the spot where you kill them, but they are not the things that actually kill the opponent, right? The things that actually kill the Nami are the big bodies, because like, you know, 9K swing from the dog will never kill the opponent. That shit will not happen. You know, you need a really big swing. So I agree that the dog is helpful. I just think some people think that like the dog helps more than I personally believe it does in this matchup. I think the place where the dog is best is Sky Island Luffy. I think, but even then, every Sky Island Luffy deck list is playing 8 cards to kill the dog. So like, how good is it really? And I know I'm speaking a lot of anti-dog rhetoric. I don't know. That's not to say that the dog is awful. I might play it, but I might not.
Do you have this opinion of the dog in specifically Double Dawn, or just like the regular game as well?
Just the regular game as well. But I'm still not sure. You might have to play the dog. Truly, this idea that we shouldn't play the dog is like a very recent idea. It's like basically last night is when we were like, What if we just fucking cut the dog? Like, this shit never sticks. Even when it does stick, it's like not the thing that actually kills the Nami. But I don't know. Truly, I don't know. Could go either way. Okay, we swing here because the hand size is so low. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We scry, we bottom. And then
I think he accidentally used it for leader effect.
yeah, he
It just
did.
says +2.
Yeah, he did. It was really peak. We should okay. I know we did not swing this because they're going to trigger a body and we're like, fuck, they're going to kill us because they have 4 swings. I agree with that. However, if you don't swing here, you will never kill them under any situation ever. Like, low key, you deny this swing and the opponent can actually play for like 6 more turns.
Yeah.
So I think you did have to swing here and you just had to hope that the opponent fucked up and like swung bad numbers and like was just really dog shit. Like, truly, if you don't swing here, like, your opponent doesn't even have to have a functioning brain. They win accidentally. like what is this, right? Like, truly, what is that? You know? What inspired them to do that? I don't know, but it doesn't matter, right? It truly doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Anyways. I'm not gonna lie, chat. We really did not get through very many VODs.
This shit was fire. This shit was fire.
I'm trying to see just real quickly if there's like, did anyone post an Enel mirror? Okay, we posted one. Troy posted one. We're gonna watch this one last one, and then we're gonna wrap it up. We should wrap it up because, like, low key, I'm really hungry. But Abby's not home. She went to Portugal with some of her friends. I took her to the airport this morning.
I thought you were gonna say you were waiting for her to get home to eat.
Normally, yes. Normally she'd be making me food, but she's in Portugal. So I actually don't have a time constraint right now. But so we will watch one more. Okay, what was the original opening? And we are going first, and we mull because we do not have any 1-drops. I agree with that. I think the 1-drops are pretty important. All right. I'm guessing what happened was, and I have not looked at the quick guides, and this is something Josh and I disagree about. So, you know, you guys can listen to him, you can listen to me. Last time I put it in the calculator, he has 4 championships and I only have 1. So you feel free to listen to him. You know, I would never hate, you know. Obviously, it's very reasonable to listen to the man with 4 championships instead of 1. But I'm guessing he has been spreading the good word of Gadatsu because he has been trying to do the same thing in our prep server. In my opinion, this card is trash. Don't play it, please. This is the last time I'm going to say it. We'll see if this game it's gas or not. But I know I just watched the opponent put 2 Sidoris on board. And if I was them, I'd be feeling a lot better, personally. I will say, if this Gadatsu said base 2K, it would be a lot more reasonable. But because it just says, I want to play the 1-drops here. I see you thinking about it. I also want to play them.
That's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, I want to do it, and then
just
like
he played 2.
Yeah, he played 2.
So.
Mm-hmm.
So Elijah, when you said you did the math, like, do you mean like how often Satori helps you like hit cards, or like compared to Gadatsu?
No. When I said I did the math, I meant Josh has 4 championships and I have 1. It was a joke. It was not a real commentary on the game.
Yeah. Okay.
It was both a joke and a true statement. You know.
True.
Yeah, I
also
definitely
like Satori for what it's worth.
Yeah, Satori's the GOAT for sure. I definitely want to play double one here. I think a lot of the time what happens if you play the dog is your opponent goes, okay, cool, kill the dog, kill your Gadatsu, and then you're like, fuck. I think this is for sure better. It also allows you to do things where like next turn, you can play like the Reiju and the dog in the same turn. So then you develop like 2 threats at the same time. I do not think I personally want to L Thor here. Like basically, when we think about if we should L Thor the opponent, there's like a couple questions we should ask. And it's mainly like, how much do we really care about what the opponent is swinging? And like in this situation, it's like they swing like 1 here, they like attach it on here, they like, so it swings for 3, and then they like leader skill, and this becomes like a 5 or a 6 or something, probably like a 6. And then like, so this 3 kills here, and then like these go face. And so like the question is like, would we use this? Like, are we scared to take 2 damage? And I know I said before that a lot of the time I don't want to take the first 2 in the mirror. That is more true when I go second, and also more true when there's like the threat of dog. I think that is a little bit less true here. So I would personally be chill to take the first 2. So I don't really want to L Thor here, but like, again, I could be wrong about this. Like, it might be fine to L Thor. I just think like, I think we will still have this option to L Thor next turn. So I am down to wait. You might not even end up doing it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I played the shirt. Oh no, I remember I ended up at 5 Dawn on my next turn because of what I did here. Because I did not.
Yeah, that's disastrous.
I was thinking I had 6 Dawn post
Yeah.
leader ability because I had it all. It ended up working out because I only played Reiju, but like, still bad.
Yeah, it's bad for sure. Because like basically what that means is like we played the Shura this turn instead of the dog next turn, right? And like of course we would prefer to on that turn develop the dog.
Yeah, double develop.
Particularly when we already have this many 1-drops, right? And particularly because like this is Shura specifically, and like you can low-key develop Shura at any point in the game because like really Shura is meant to like trade into 1-drops, and like you don't need to really pre-establish the Shura to trade into a 1-drop most of the time. Oh, we didn't play the Shura, but we are still only going to 5 Dawn because we all Thored. Okay. Our Gadatsu dies. The opponent also let us kill the Satori, which is insane. I don't really know how that happened. I actually truly have no idea how that happened. He could have very easily kept it alive. So I guess if all your opponents are going to do that, Gadatsu is the GOAT. Personally, that shit's never happening to me, but you know. Okay. Okay, so we play just dog and we do not get to play the Reiju. Swing 5 and play second dog. That's pretty cool. I guess it's not so disastrous. We get to like double develop dog because we drew a second one. I will say also with the way that the game played out is like we are pretty starved here. Frankie, that's cool. I've tried the Frankie. The Frankie's pretty cool. I'm not sure 100% if it should be in the deck list, but it definitely can be.
I think it plays well in the Portuguese list, not so much in the Reiju list.
Yeah, it does. It helps a lot with the minusing cards in hand that I like, that general theory that I talked about earlier. It's definitely a viable choice. I could see a world where I play it this weekend, for sure. It's one of the cards we are considering. Truly, I've never had an experience in my entire life where we were this close to the tournament and I was this unsure about the deck list that I wanted to play and the deck that I wanted to play. It's truly never happened. It's pretty incredible. Okay.
Are the people you're traveling with for the tournament, they're also playing Enel?
I'm traveling with Sam, and Sam and I will just do whatever we're gonna do. Like, we have actually talked about playing different decks for this tournament, which we normally don't do. Like, Sam and I almost always have submitted the exact 50 together. But there is low-key some metagaming with this specific tournament because it is so predictable and it is so small that, like, maybe one of us plays Nami and one of us plays Enel, because, like, if the room is really bad for one of those two decks, it's probably good for the other one, which means that, like, if one of us does poorly, then, like, it means that the other one has a good chance to do well. Like, if it's like a room issue. So we might not actually play the same decks. I don't know. We still need to figure that shit out. Honestly, we have way more work to do than I really want there to be. It's low-key tragic. I can't even lie to y'all. Holy shit, they gave us double one. That's pretty cool. I love when my opponent double ones. Okay, and we pass because we don't want the dog to die. Makes sense. It's not like the most free thing for them to remove.
Yeah, he'd reblock it too. I just figured it wasn't worth it because I was gonna have to give cards for it.
Yeah.
No matter what, if I swung it.
Oh, yeah. Also, he could free block. I forgot this Frankie was a blocker. My fault. Good comms. Yeah, definitely. Because the Frankie's a blocker, you for sure don't do it. In your pink. Then minus the dog. Okay, bye-bye, dog. And this is where I ask chat once again. What did the dog do? You know, I wish we had more time to watch more VODs, and I would just love to see a game where the dog fucking does anything. Because I agree, theoretically, it's the greatest fucking card ever printed. But I swear to God, that shit does not fucking do anything. It doesn't do nothing, to be fair. Like, the opponent had to spend resources removing it. You know, the Nami earlier had to, like, Zeus it, shit like that. Damn, was that actually the grab? Let me think. Yeah, it is. I think we pitched dog. I think there's no world we ever get to play another one, personally. Okay, so we are going to freeze that. So at this point, we are deciding to race them, is what I'm interpreting these game actions as. Yeah, okay. How do I feel about this? We try to race them. What happens here typically is they give us one card in their hand. They take a life. They start their turn with 6 cards. It's their turn. We know they're on Frankie, so it's like not that hard for them to like play second Frankie, which will like eat this big swing from this Enel. I feel like this will not work. I think we had to try and play a longer game here. I'm going to be interested to see how this game plays out. I could be wrong. But my
I don't end
inclination.
up swinging the Reiju here.
Oh, you don't.
I swing that, and I end up building a big standing board against this guy because I'm just worried about like if I swing the Reiju here, he definitely kills it. I have one guy left on board, and next turn the best thing I could do is probably play another 6, which is like really slow, and he's already 3 wide.
If that's the case, I would have for sure swung here first before
maybe
freezing it.
Keaton instead of freezing.
Yeah, for sure. But it's okay. Because, like, to be honest, it's, like, pretty hard for the deck to have counter for that fucking Porsche, right? He already gave us double 1 last turn. Like, low-key, I think that Porsche dies, like, a huge percentage of the time if we swing 5 at it. And then if we do that, we get to keep the dragon. And if we get to keep the dragon, we can, like, freeze one of these next turn. Or, you know, whenever. We might not even have to do it next turn, but at some point. Okay, I'm going to play 6 drop. I want to grab the 2K personally. The Ohm is not the worst thing either, to be fair.
I think I take the Reiju because I have a Gamma Knife.
That's fair. The Reiju and the Gamma Knife will pair very well. Yeah, and then we just pitch this. Okay, I'm super down, actually. I think the only reason we do this is if... Oh, I was going to say if we don't want to swing the Ohm. Interesting. Okay, I do not think I would have gone about it like this with the kittens. I think that I personally would have just, like, dawned up on this and gone 6 at it, personally. I think these kittens could be useful later. Also, like, this Reiju swinging 7 or swinging infinite, like, truly makes no diff, and, like, it wouldn't surprise me if you choose to not even swing this. Which, if that's the case, then, like, we really did use 2 kittens for fun, right? Like, if you swung 6 to 4, the thing was gonna die, right?
Probably gives it anyway, yeah.
It's pretty cool we found a second Ohm, though. I want to play this for sure. This card fucks. I will also say I kind of like how we started this session with like Spiros asking about like the 6s and how there's kind of like, I think there's a sentiment kind of around the community that I've seen, and I know I think Josh has maybe shared these feelings as well, that like the 6s are like not that good in the mirror. I think a lot of mirrors play out exactly like this, where like, sure, in a perfect world where both players have the perfect hand every turn, playing a 6 is not good. I also think that is just not how most games go on most turns. And the next best thing you can do after a perfect turn is play a 6, because it's a giant fucking 10k body that is not the easiest to interact with. So that's, I'll let it lie there, and just something to think about for everyone. I think a lot of games play out like this, in this way, where like both players are like playing 6s and kind of like playing footsies with like who's going to swing what, when, and why. Which is part of the reason why I like the removal cards, is because like when games devolve like this, when you have cards like Gamma Knife and Divine Departure and whatever, like you can just win the game on like that turn, basically. Okay.
Do you feel like it's kind of like inevitable for it to like a lot of these to just end like this, where you just kind of like bricked up boards, or is it like things earlier to do to kind of prevent getting in like a situation like this?
I think the way that you can prevent games from turning into this is like, if you go super wide, like if you do like Porsche dog stuff, Porsche dog Frankie stuff, like that sort of thing. I think you can prevent this, because like if you summon a bunch of creatures, A lot of the time, the opponent cannot put a 6 cost on the board, because if they do, then like you just kind of fuck them because you're so wide.
That makes sense.
But you know, that doesn't happen too frequently. Because again, it's like, you know, that's the type of play line that takes like several cards, whereas like playing the 6 cost takes 1 card, right? This is a really interesting turn. I want to think for a moment about how I want to play it, because we have a lot of ways we like. Low key, I think the opponent should be dead a lot of the time. I'm trying to think if it is enough that I want to go for it, though. I think I want to start the turn by swinging 7 with my leader. I think that's how I want to start. And the reason why
because they have to respect the Mama Ragan, is that why?
It's not exactly that. It's because, I mean, they do low-key have to respect the Mama Ragan, but I'm even thinking about our hand. Like, if we swing 7 and they don't block, we get to we just kill them, right? Like, we go like Gamma Knife, L Thor, we like take the Dawn off of this, we like attach a bunch of Dawn here, we like do all these swings. I guess like it's probably not a bunch of Dawn here. Probably what you do, like let's say they do any game action other than block with Frankie, you use the 2 Dawn, so you used 2 Dawn, you Gamma Knife, you return 1 of the Dawn, and you have 2 more rested. Then you go, you also plus this by 1. You probably swing 8 with Reiju. And then you go Dawn minus for this off of here. Hopefully you draw a second spell. If you don't draw a second spell, if you do, then it's really great because you can just Dawn minus here. If you don't, you can like play the Shura, Dawn minus here. So now you have all your Dawn rested or returned. You leader skill. You put it all here, so you get to swing 7. If you drew a spell, then it's 8. So it's like 7, 8, 7, or 7, 8, 8. If they don't block. So let's say they didn't block. Let's say they like countered. They gave you 2 cards. You go 7. If they go 7, it's actually even easier because then I think you can split with the Shura stuff. But if they don't, you like go 8. They take. You go 8. They have like 3 cards in hand. They're just like math dead. They're like goober dead. So I think I want to start the turn by swinging 7 with leader. And if they do block with this Frankie, I just want to kill this by going like plain Reiju, swing this here. Probably something like that. And then like at that point, I think we do probably turn the whole board. Because then the opponent has like 3 swings. We have a Reiju here, and we have 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3 life or 2 life. Like, we don't realistically die from there, I don't think. The opponent's best lethal is probably like Gamma Knife this or L Thor, and if they do that, it's like still not that great. They only have 3 swings, so they have to also have a Shura. They have to like 4 card combo us, and even then we cover a 10k swing in our hand. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna do all the math. If anyone wants to, they can like count the spot. But I'm pretty sure what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to start 7. If they do any action other than block, we have math lethal and we send game. If they do block, all we have to do is kill this. We turn everything else sideways. And what happens there is we can just talk about it real quickly. Even if they clear our board a lot, right? Let's say they kill both of these and they freeze this, they are going to be at 0 life 100%. It is not possible that they are not at 0 life. And like, we still have like Gamma plus L Thor. So even if they play like a Frankie blocker, right? Which is like the one thing that they could do that could involve them clearing both of these, right? Because like there's no way they can play like a blocker Enel and clear both of these, right? It's just not possible. It's just not possible, right? They would have to like play a Frankie, Gamma Knife this, swing over this one really big, right? They do all of that, which by the way actually is like a fucking 50 card combo, because they would also have to like double kitten our standing Reiju, otherwise our Reiju blocks for this. But I guess what you could say is like what they actually do is they go like they -1, they kill it, we let it die, they swing big at 1. No, it just never fucking works. It just actually never fucking works. Anyways, it's like basically we zero them. It's impossible for them to both establish a blocker and kill both of these unless it's Frankie and they 50 card combo us. And even if they do that, we still have our leader and probably the Reiju or the Ohm or both or 3 or 2 Reijus or whatever. And then what we do is we just Gamma Knife, pop the Frankie blocker, and they're dead. So I really hope that we turn everything this turn. Oh, I think you just do what I said, but you do it slightly before I would have. Do we have math this way? Not sure. Probably.
I remember doing the math, and it was like if he had any amount of bricks,
yeah,
he was like host.
I will say, if that, I'm not going to do the math right now. I highly encourage anyone to do the math. I might even do it separately later. Maybe I fucking post this somewhere.
He was like,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. After I looked at his deck, and like he would have had to Mamaragan, I think, into a 2K, and his top card was a brick, so like there's no way he was winning that.
I will say, if the math, again, we'd have to count it. If the math says he could live, I would not go for it here. I do think your hand and your position is so good that like you can just do the play that I outlined, where like you like test, go for it. If he doesn't block, then you go for it. If he, and then like you kill, if he does block, then you like kill this, and then like he can never kill you and he can never survive the following turn. But anyways, it doesn't matter. You're in a really overwhelmingly strong position. And I do think that this is the way a lot of mirrors play out, which is like someone gets to develop these big guys and then they kill the opponent.
Like clearing the blocker first, like what he did, like is that like you just like get like less information by not swinging first? Is that why?
Yeah, it's just like less information basically. I don't think there's a huge amount of upside in like clearing it first, because when we clear it first, we're like kind of committing to going for game. I would say. Whereas like if we just do the swing first, we get to see what the opponent does, and then we can decide if we want to go for it. And if he blocks, like that's good for us. Like if he blocks, we are now in a 100% winning game state, right? Because of everything I just described. We're like, we clear this, we deal 2 damage, we have, you know, a blocker up and this Ohm. You know, it's like his bitch is fucked for sure. But anyways, this session was a little bit longer than usual. We only talked about Enel, so like low-key, I might title this shit like Enel Masterclass Part 2 or some shit. Part 3 will come probably next week when Sam does this shit or something. I don't know. We'll see. The deck is really complex, and like we are going to have a lot of content coming for Enel before May when most of you have regionals. We have a lot of stuff. Sam and I will be recording some mirror gameplay, specifically I'll have more. I have another Enel 2v1 that I should be able to post probably Monday or Tuesday. We got a lot of Enel stuff coming. This isn't just an Enel group, so don't worry, Nami enjoyers, Lucy enjoyers, Luffy enjoyers, whatever. We'll have stuff coming for that too, but for sure we'll have mostly Enel stuff coming would be my guess, or maybe not mostly, but it will be the thing that like is more common than anything else because the deck is so nuanced and is so powerful and so many people are playing it. But anyways, thank you all for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, I will be looking for feedback. So whether you were here for the live class or you watched the VOD or whatever, please either DM me or message it in general or whatever channel you want to. I always appreciate the feedback. I know this particular session I did a lot more tangents than usual, which is crazy because I always do tangents. But anyways, good night, friends.
Sir, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.